The large round chamber of the Galactic Council was silent. 200 representatives from different planets sat in curved rows. They all looked down at Ambassador Zellner, who stood in the center. His blue skin seemed pale today, and his 4 arms trembled slightly. "The void plague has spread to the Orion sector," Zellner said. His voice was tired. 3 more civilizations have fallen in the past month. The city people, the Belerians, and the Proxima colony are all gone. Whispers filled the chamber. Some representatives covered their faces with their hands, tentacles or wings. Others simply stared in shock. "That brings the total to 17 worlds lost," continued Zellner. "Our best scientists have no solution. The plague eats away at our technology. It makes our plants and animals sick and die. It spreads faster than we can run." Council leader Vox, a tall being with golden scales, stood up. "What about the Luminary? Their medical knowledge is the best in the galaxy." Zellner shook his head. "They have failed. The plague adapts to their treatments. The Tresians, their force fields are strongest," said another voice. "The plague passes through all known shields," replied Zellner. "The Ventari, their crystal technology." "All failed," said Zellner. "The Ventari lost 3 ships trying to study the plague up close." The chamber grew quiet again. Fear hung in the air like a heavy cloud. A small voice spoke from the back of the room. "What about the humans?" All heads turned to look at Junior Archivist Kayla. She was new to the council, young and green-skinned with large eyes. She stepped back, surprised by the attention. "I'm sorry," she said. "I was just thinking. There's that species from the edge of the galaxy, from the planet called Earth." Council leader Vox made a snorting sound. "Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world. No advanced species could evolve there." "The gravity would crush most of us," said one representative. "The oxygen levels are toxic," said another. "They have extreme temperature changes that would kill most species," added a third. Kyla spoke again, a bit stronger now. "But that's why they might help us. They evolved in conditions we find impossible. They might see things differently." Ambassador Zellner rubbed his chin with one of his 4 hands. "What do we know about these humans?" A holographic screen appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed images of Earth, blue oceans, green lands, white clouds. Then it showed humans, walking, running, building, fighting. "They are a young species," said the Council's computer. "They have only recently discovered space travel. They are still confined mostly to their home planet, with small colonies on their moon and neighboring planet. They have not developed faster than light travel." "Primitives," someone muttered. "Yes," said the computer, "but they show unusual traits. They can survive injuries that would kill most species. They can go without sleep for days. They can adapt to different environments quickly. They solve problems in unique ways." The screen showed humans in deserts, mountains, oceans, and forests. It showed them building large structures, creating art, and looking at the stars. Zellner watched the images with growing interest. They live on a world that would kill most of us. Yet they thrive there. "They are violent," warned Council leader Vox. "Look at their history. Wars, conflicts." "Yes," said Zellner, "but also cooperation, creativity, and determination. We have tried the most advanced solutions in the galaxy. Perhaps now we need something different." He turned to face the entire council. "I propose we send a diplomatic mission to Earth. We ask these Deathworlders for help. We have nothing to lose." The council members looked at each other. Some nodded. Others looked doubtful. But no one had a better idea. "Prepare a ship," Zellner said. "I will lead the mission myself." As the council session ended, Junior Archivist Keela approached him. "Do you really think they can help us, Ambassador?" Zellner looked at the images of Earth still floating in the air. "I don't know, but hope can come from strange places, even from a death world." Dr. Alan Carter yawned as he looked through his microscope. The lad was quiet at night. Everyone else had gone home hours ago, but Alan wanted to finish his work. The clock on the wall showed 11:30 p.m. Just a little longer, he said to himself. He had been studying unusual bacteria found in the deep ocean. These tiny life forms could survive in extreme conditions that would kill most other creatures. Suddenly, a blue light flashed through the windows. Alan looked up, confused. Then the light flashed again, brighter this time. It wasn't lightning. It was something else. Alan walked to the window and looked out. His mouth fell open in shock. A huge ship hovered above the Northwestern Research Center. It was shaped like a giant oval, smooth and silver. Blue lights pulsed along its sides. It was larger than any airplane Alan had ever seen. "That's not one of ours," he whispered. His phone rang, making him jump. It was his colleague, Lisa Wright. "Alan, are you seeing this?" Her voice was excited. "I'm looking at it right now," he said. "It's right above the center. Turn on the news. They're landing in Washington, D.C. too, and in Beijing, Moscow, London, and New Delhi. They're all over the world." Alan grabbed the remote and turned on the small TV in the corner of the lab. Every channel showed the same thing: giant ships hovering over major cities around the world. "This is not a drill," said the news reporter. "We are experiencing what appears to be first contact with an alien species." Just then, the lights in the lab flickered. The door opened by itself. Alan turned, his heart racing. 3 figures stood in the doorway. They weren't human. The one in front was tall and thin with blue skin and 4 arms. Behind it stood a glowing white being that seemed made of light, and a shorter creature that looked like it was made of crystal. "Dr. Alan Carter," said the blue alien in perfect English. "I am Ambassador Zellner of the Galactic Council. We need your help." 3 days later, Alan and Lisa sat in a large meeting room at the United Nations headquarters in New York. Government officials, military leaders, and top scientists from around the world filled the room. At the front, Ambassador Zellner and 5 other aliens waited patiently. "This is unbelievable," Lisa whispered to Alan. "Actual aliens. And they want our help." Alan nodded, still trying to process everything. The world had changed overnight. Humans were not alone in the universe. And apparently, the aliens had a big problem. Ambassador Zellner stepped forward. "Thank you for meeting with us. We represent the Galactic Council, an alliance of 200 spacefaring civilizations. We have come to Earth because we face a crisis that threatens all life in the galaxy." He explained about the Void Plague, how it destroyed technology and killed living things, how it had already wiped out 17 civilizations, how the most advanced species in the galaxy have failed to stop it. "We have come to you," Zellner said, "because you are different. You evolved on what we call a death world." Confused murmurs filled the room. "Earth's gravity is crushing to most galactic species," Zellner explained. "Your oxygen levels are toxic to many. Your temperature variations are extreme. Your radiation levels are dangerous. Yet you not only survive here, you thrive." Alan looked around the room, seeing the surprise on everyone's faces. "Your history shows remarkable resilience and problem-solving abilities," Zellner continued. "You approach challenges differently than we do. This is why we have come to ask for your help." A general stood up. "Why should we believe you? How do we know this isn't some trick?" "A fair question," said Zellner. "We are prepared to share some of our technology as a show of good faith, and we invite a delegation of humans to visit our worlds and see the plague for yourselves." The room erupted in discussion. Some people looked excited, others suspicious. The President of the United States raised her hand for silence. Who would go on this delegation? Zellner's 4 hands gestured toward Alan and Lisa. "We have been observing your scientists. Dr. Carter and Dr. Wright's work on extremophile organisms suggests they might have valuable insights. We request they join our first contact team." All eyes turned to Alan and Lisa. "Will you help us?" asked Zellner. "Will you help save the galaxy?" Lisa Wright sat in the alien laboratory on board the Galactic Council ship. Around her were screens filled with data about the Void Plague. The screens floated in the air without any support. The aliens had given her access to all their research. "This is amazing," she said, touching one of the floating screens. The information changed instantly. Their technology is so advanced. Alan nodded as he studied another screen. "Yes, but they've missed something. I can feel it." A week had passed since they had agreed to help the aliens. Now they were part of a special team that included scientists from different countries. The alien ship was still on Earth while they prepared for their mission to the stars. Lisa looked at the data again. The Void Plague wasn't like any disease she had studied before. It wasn't a virus or bacteria. It was something between matter and energy. It affected technology first, then spread to living things. "The aliens have tried everything they know," said Alan, "but they think differently than we do." "What do you mean?" asked Lisa. "They grew up in easier environments. They never had to struggle like humans did. Think about Earth's history. We faced ice ages, plagues, natural disasters. We had to adapt or die." Lisa understood. They see limits. We see challenges. Exactly. The doors slid open. Paul Johnson walked in. He was an engineer from California who had joined their team. He was carrying a tablet computer. "You need to see this," he said. He put the tablet down. It showed a simulation of how the plague spread through alien technology. "Notice anything strange?" Lisa and Alan watched the simulation carefully. "It avoids certain materials," said Lisa after a minute. "See how it goes around these components." "Those are what the aliens call primitive parts," said Paul. "Simple circuits, basic materials." "Like what we use on Earth," said Alan, his eyes wide with realization. Ambassador Zellner entered the lab with two other aliens. One was Trill, a luminary who looked like a being made of light. The other was Kronx, a Ventari with a body like crystal. "Have you found anything useful?" asked Zellner. Lisa stood up. "Maybe. We need to run some tests with Earth technology. The plague seems to prefer advanced systems. Our primitive technology might resist it better." The aliens looked at each other in surprise. "That is an unusual approach," said Trill, her voice musical and soft. "We assumed more advanced solutions would be needed." "Sometimes simple is better," said Alan. "Can we bring in more experts from Earth? We need different perspectives." Zellner nodded. "Of course. Who do you suggest?" By the next day, 3 more humans had joined their team. Samantha Dias was a biologist who studied extreme environments. Greg Turner was a physicist who specialized in radiation. Eric Martinez was a doctor who had worked in disaster zones. They gathered in a larger meeting room on the alien ship. The walls were curved and smooth. The lights came from nowhere and everywhere. "Thank you all for coming," said Alan. "We've been studying the Void Plague. The aliens have tried to fight it with their most advanced technology, but we think that's the wrong approach. The plague feeds on advanced energy patterns," explained Lisa. "It's drawn to them, but it mostly ignores simpler systems. Like using a computer virus against people who still use paper," said Paul. "Exactly," said Lisa. "We want to try something the aliens haven't considered. We want to use Earth's primitive technology against the plague." Greg looked thoughtful. "Our technology isn't as efficient, but it's robust. It can take damage and still work. And we know how to improvise," added Samantha. "Humans are good at making things work with whatever we have." The aliens watched and listened carefully. "Most species in the galaxy seek comfort and safety," said Zellner. "But humans, you evolved on a dangerous world. You face danger every day and survive. Perhaps that is exactly what we need now." Eric grinned. "If there's one thing humans are good at, it's surviving when everything goes wrong." Lisa looked at her new team. In their eyes, she saw not fear but excitement, curiosity, and determination. The aliens had called Earth a death world, but that harsh planet had created something special, humans who never gave up. "Let's get to work," she said. "We have a galaxy to save." 1 month later, the alien ship Horizon Seeker left Earth's orbit. On board were 20 humans selected from different countries. Captain Olivia Martinez was in charge of the human team. She had been a Navy pilot before this mission. "Final checks complete," said Olivia as she looked at her tablet. "All humans are on board and ready." Ambassador Zellner nodded with his 4 arms crossed over his chest. "Good. We will now travel to the edge of the Void Plague Zone. It will take 3 days at our fastest speed." Olivia still found it hard to believe she was on an alien spaceship heading into deep space. Just a month ago, she had been training pilots on an aircraft carrier. Now she was leading the first humans to travel beyond our solar system. The ship moved smoothly away from Earth. There was no feeling of movement. One moment they were near Earth, and then suddenly, the stars looked different. "We are now traveling faster than light," explained Trill, the glowing luminary alien. "Your bodies are protected by our shields." The humans spent the next days exploring the ship and learning about alien technology. The aliens watched them with a mix of fear and fascination. "Why do you need to eat so often?" asked Kronks, the crystal Venturi, as he watched Paul and Samantha eating lunch. "Human bodies burn a lot of energy," explained Paul. "We need food at least 3 times a day." "And you sleep for hours every day?" asked another alien. "Yes, our brains need time to rest," said Samantha. "Don't your species sleep?" "We enter brief rest states," said Trill, "but not for hours at a time. It would be too dangerous." The aliens were surprised by many human habits. They were shocked when Greg cut his finger on a tool and just put a bandage on it. "You are bleeding," said Zellner in alarm. "We must get you to the medical bay." Greg laughed. "It's just a small cut. It will heal in a day or 2. "On our worlds, such injuries could be fatal," said Trill. "Your bodies are remarkably resilient." On the 3rd day, alarm sounds rang through the ship. "We have a problem," said the ship's pilot. "We have entered an asteroid field that was not on our charts." The main viewing screen showed hundreds of large rocks floating in space. As they watched, a small rock hit the ship. The lights flickered. "Shields are failing," said another alien crew member. "Engine 3 is damaged." "Can we go around?" asked Olivia. "No, it would take too long," said Zellner. "And we cannot stop here. We must reach the plague zone soon." The alien crew looked scared. They moved around in panic. Some were freezing in place, unable to think clearly. "Let us help," said Olivia. She turned to her team. "Alan, Lisa, check the science lab. Paul, Greg, help with the engines. Samantha, Eric, check our supplies." The aliens watched in surprise as the humans calmly organized themselves. "We need to move that fallen equipment," said Paul, pointing to a heavy metal case that had fallen during the impact. "Our exoskeletons are not strong enough," said an alien crew member. Paul and Greg looked at each other and smiled. Then they simply lifted the heavy case together and moved it. "How can you do that?" asked the alien. "The gravity on this ship is set to our standards. That case must weigh 200 of your pounds." "We're from Earth," said Greg. "We're used to lifting heavy things." In the engine room, another problem appeared. One section was filled with radiation from the damaged engine. "No one can enter that area," said an alien engineer. "The radiation levels are too high." "How high?" asked Lisa. The alien showed her the readings. Lisa nodded. "That's high, but humans can handle short exposures," she said. "We'll need protective gear, but we can fix it." "Impossible," said the alien. "It would kill any of our species instantly." "Earth is naturally radioactive compared to your worlds," explained Alan. "We've evolved some resistance." While the aliens watched in amazement, the humans worked together to repair the ship. They moved heavy objects, worked in radiation areas, and solved problems quickly. "How can they be so calm in a crisis?" Zellner asked Trill as they watched. Perhaps, said Trill, when you evolve on a world that tries to kill you every day, a little space emergency doesn't seem so bad. The Horizon Seeker slowed as it approached the quarantine zone. Through the main viewing window, the humans could see a planet that looked dead. Its surface was gray and dull, with no signs of life or activity. This was once Tressus IV, a colony of the Tresian species, said Ambassador Zellner. His voice was sad. 10,000 people lived here. Now it is empty. That's what the Void Plague does? Asked Olivia, her face serious. Yes, said Trill, the luminary. First, it affected their technology. Ships stopped working. Power systems failed. Communication went dark. Then plants began to die. Then animals. Then people. Greg Turner looked at the readings on his tablet. The plague is still there. I can detect unusual energy patterns all over the planet. We cannot go closer, said Kronks, the crystal Ventari. Our shields cannot protect us from the plague. Greg thought for a moment. Maybe we can improve your shields. On Earth, we use different principles for radiation protection. Show me, said Kronks. For the next few hours, Greg and Paul worked with the alien engineers. They combined Earth principles with alien technology. This might work, said Greg finally. The plague seems to feed on specific energy wavelengths. If we modify the shields to block those wavelengths. They tested the new shield design. It worked better than the old one, allowing them to move closer to the dead planet. We need samples of the plague to study, said Lisa. Can we send a probe down? The aliens looked nervous. Their previous probes had all been destroyed by the plague. We'll make it simple, said Samantha. No advanced systems for the plague to attack. The humans built a basic probe using mostly Earth technology. They sent it down to the planet's surface. Unlike the alien probes, this one kept working long enough to collect samples. When the probe returned, they took it to the science lab for study. The aliens stayed back, afraid of contamination. But Lisa and Alan put on protective suits and began to examine the samples. This is fascinating, said Lisa as she looked through a microscope. The plague isn't alive in the way we understand life. It's more like a pattern of energy that can copy itself. And it feeds on the energy from advanced technology, added Alan. That's why it attacks the most developed systems first. As they worked, an alarm suddenly sounded. Red lights flashed in the lab. Breach detected, said the ship's computer. Quarantine failure in Science Lab 3. The aliens panicked. Everyone in the lab had been exposed to the plague. Seal all doors, ordered Zellner from the safety of the bridge. We cannot let it spread. Inside the lab, Lisa, Alan, and 3 other humans realized they were trapped. The plague is in the air system, said Alan, checking the readings. We've all been exposed. The aliens on the other side of the sealed door looked at them with sadness and fear. According to everything they knew, the humans would start showing symptoms within hours. Then they would die. But hour after hour passed, and nothing happened. The humans felt fine. This is remarkable, said Trill, watching them through the window. You should be showing signs of infection by now. Lisa had an idea. She took blood samples from everyone in the lab and studied them. I think we're naturally resistant, she said finally. Something in our blood chemistry slows the plague down. How is that possible? Asked Zellner over the communication system. Earth is full of radiation, bacteria, viruses, and toxins, explained Lisa. Our bodies have developed strong immune systems. We're not immune to the plague, but we can fight it longer. There's something else, said Alan, who was studying the plague samples again. The plague seems to avoid certain compounds in our blood. Compounds that come from earth plants we eat, and it reacts strangely to adrenaline, added Samantha, looking at her tests. That's a hormone humans produce under stress. The humans looked at each other with growing excitement. They had been chosen for this mission because they came from a death world. Now that harsh planet might have given them exactly what they needed to fight the plague. I think we can develop a countermeasure, said Lisa. using compounds from Earth plants and components of human blood. Is it possible? Asked Zellner, hope in his voice for the first time. On Earth, said Olivia with a smile, we have a saying. Necessity is the mother of invention. When things look impossible, that's when humans do their best work. 2 weeks later, the Horizon Seeker docked at the largest research station in the Galactic Council space. The station orbited a giant blue gas planet. It was shaped like a wheel with spokes leading to a central hub. Thousands of scientists from different species worked there. The human team was given a large laboratory in the central hub. News of their resistance to the void plague had spread quickly. Many alien scientists wanted to meet them and learn about their ideas. Lisa stood in the middle of the lab, surrounded by equipment from both Earth and alien worlds. She had been working nonstop since they discovered humans' natural resistance to the plague. We need to find the exact compounds that fight the plague, she said to her team. Then we can make enough for the whole galaxy. Ellen nodded as he studied samples under a microscope. I've identified 3 plant compounds that seem effective. One from garlic, one from a rainforest plant, and one from a type of seaweed. And I've isolated the parts of human blood that slow the plague, said Samantha. We can create synthetic versions of these. Paul was working with Greg on a different approach. They had built a simple radio transmitter using Earth technology. The plague is partly energy, explained Paul to the curious alien scientists. It has a specific pattern. If we broadcast a counter pattern, we might disrupt it. Like noise-canceling headphones, added Greg. They create sound waves that cancel out unwanted noise. The aliens looked confused. They were not familiar with such simple technology. Their communication systems were far more advanced, using quantum principles that the plague could easily attack. Your approach is primitive, said a Venturi scientist. Paul smiled. Sometimes primitive works better. The plague attacks complex systems, so we use simple ones. In another part of the lab, Olivia and Eric were testing different materials to see which ones resisted the plague the longest. Look at this, said Eric, holding up a piece of ordinary copper wire. The plague barely affects it, but it destroys the alien quantum wire instantly. Olivia picked up the copper wire. So we need to build our delivery system using materials like this. Ambassador Zellner visited the lab daily to check on their progress. He was impressed by how the humans work together, sharing ideas and building on each other's work. Your species has an unusual way of solving problems, he told Olivia. You try many different approaches at once. That's because we know that any one of us might fail, she explained. But together, we have a better chance of finding a solution. After days of hard work, the team gathered to put all their findings together. Here's what we know, said Lisa. The plague feeds on complex energy patterns. It avoids certain compounds found in Earth plants and human blood, and it can be disrupted by specific radio frequencies. So we need to combine all 3 approaches, said Alan. We create a mixture of the effective compounds, then use the radio transmitter to broadcast the disruptive frequency. Paul had built a delivery system using mostly simple Earth materials. It looked rough compared to the sleek alien technology, but it was resistant to the plague. I call it the space penicillin dispenser, he said with a grin. Not pretty, but it works. They tested their solution on small samples of the plague in the lab. The results were promising. The plague weakened and eventually broke apart when exposed to their treatment. It's working, said Samantha, looking at the test results. The alien scientists were amazed. Their most advanced technology had failed, but these humans from a death world had found a solution using simple methods and materials. Your solution is not what we expected, said Trill, the luminary. No single alien species would have thought of combining these different approaches. That's how we survived on Earth, said Olivia. We take ideas from everywhere and put them together in new ways. Zellner looked at the test results with hope in his eyes. Can you make enough to treat an entire planet? Lisa nodded. We can. But first, we need to test it on a larger scale. Where? Asked Zelmer. We need to go to an infected planet, said Alan. We need to see if our solution works in real conditions. The aliens looked nervous at this suggestion, but the humans were determined. Prepare the ship, said Olivia. We're ready for the real test. The Horizon Seeker approached Lumina Prime, a beautiful world on the edge of the Void Plague Zone. The planet glowed with soft blue light. Half of it still looked healthy, with white clouds and blue oceans, but the other half was turning gray as the plague spread across its surface. Lumina Prime is home to 10 million luminary, said Trill, her light dimming with sadness. My family lives in the capital city. The plague reached them 3 days ago. Then we have no time to lose, said Olivia. She turned to her team. Final check on all systems. The humans had transformed part of the ship into a broadcasting station. Large tanks held the mixture they had created from earth plants and synthetic versions of human blood compounds. The delivery system Paul had built looked odd next to the sleek alien technology, but everyone hoped it would work. All systems ready, reported Paul. Broadcasting array charge, added Greg. Compound mixture stable, said Lisa. Olivia looked at Ambassador Zellner. We're ready to begin. Zellner nodded. The fate of the galaxy may depend on this. Proceed. The ship moved closer to the infected part of the planet. Through the viewing window, they could see the gray area where the plague had killed all life. At the edge was a moving line where healthy land turned gray. That's our target, said Alan. The active plague zone. Captain Olivia took control of the ship. Flying a spacecraft was different from flying planes on Earth, but she had learned quickly. She guided the ship to hover directly over the advancing edge of the plague. Beginning broadcast now, said Greg as he activated the radio transmitter. Releasing compound mixture, said Lisa. The ship released a fine mist that drifted down toward the planet's surface. The radio waves went out in all directions, carrying the disruptive frequency pattern. For a few minutes, nothing seemed to happen. The gray area continued to spread across the blue planet. The aliens watched anxiously. It's not working, said Kronks, the crystal Ventari. Give it time, said Alan. It needs to reach the right concentration. Suddenly, the sensors showed a change. The advance of the gray area slowed, then stopped completely. It's working, said Trill, her light growing brighter with hope. But then the sensors showed something new. The plague was changing, adapting to the treatment. It's fighting back, said Greg, looking at the readings. It's changing its energy pattern to avoid our disruptive frequency. Can we adjust the broadcast? Asked Olivia. Greg nodded. Yes, but we need to match its changes exactly. The alien computers are too slow to keep up. Then we'll do it manually, said Alan. Show me the pattern. Greg displayed the changing energy pattern of the plague on a screen. Alan watched it carefully, then began to adjust the broadcast frequency by hand, following the changes as they happened. This requires incredible reaction time, said Zellner in amazement. No other species could do this. Humans have good reflexes, said Olivia. We evolved to hunt and respond to dangers quickly. As Alan adjusted the frequency, the ship began to shake. Warning lights flashed. The plague is attacking our systems, reported an alien crew member. Main power failing. Backup systems failing. The broadcasting array is overheating, said Paul. The connection is breaking apart. Without thinking, Paul ran to the equipment. He grabbed the hot connection with his bare hands, holding it together. Paul, shouted Samantha, you'll burn yourself. Paul gritted his teeth against the pain. Keep broadcasting. We're making progress. The aliens watched in shock as Paul held the burning connection, smoke rising from his hands. No alien species would willingly endure such pain. Why does he do this? Asked Zellner. He is harming himself. Because others need him to, said Olivia simply. That's what humans do. On the main screen, they could see the gray area on the planet beginning to recede. The blue healthy part was growing again. The plague was being pushed back. It's working, said Trill. The plague is retreating. Ellen kept adjusting the frequency, following the plague's attempts to adapt. Paul kept holding the hot connection despite his burns. The other humans worked frantically to keep the systems running as the ship shuddered around them. Slowly, hour by hour, they pushed the plague back from Lumina Prime. When they finally stopped the broadcast, nearly half the infected area had been cleared. "We did it," said Lisa, looking at the readings. "The plague is gone from those areas." The aliens stared at the humans in wonder. These creatures from a deadly world had done. 6 months had passed since the battle for Lumina Prime. In that time, everything had changed for both humans and aliens. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was filled with representatives from 200 worlds. They had gathered to witness a historic moment. At the center of the hall stood Ambassador Zelnar and Captain Olivia Martinez. "Today," said Zelnar, his 4 arms raised for silence, "we welcome a new member to the Galactic Council. Earth has proven itself not just worthy of membership, but essential to our survival." Applause filled the hall, though some representatives remained silent. Not everyone was comfortable with these strange beings from a death world. Olivia stepped forward. She wore a new uniform that represented Earth's United Space Forces. "Thank you, Ambassador," she said. "Earth is honored to join the Council. We pledge to use our unique perspective to help protect all worlds from threats like the Void Plague." The plague was now in retreat across the galaxy. After their success at Lumina Prime, the human team had improved their solution. They had trained thousands of alien technicians to use the Earth-based technology that could fight the plague. In another part of the station, Lisa Wright worked in her new laboratory. She had become the head of the Cross-Species Research Institute. Around her worked scientists from 20 different alien worlds, all studying how Earth biology might help solve other galactic problems. "The compounds we found in garlic are showing promise against 3 other space diseases," she told a group of visiting officials. "And we're just beginning to understand how human immune systems differ from alien ones." Alan Carter was not at the ceremony. He was working with Venturi engineers to design new ships that could withstand conditions humans found comfortable. Most alien vessels could not handle Earth's gravity or atmosphere. "These reinforced hulls will let you visit Earth safely," he explained to the crystal aliens. "And the modified life support systems can handle different atmospheric needs." Paul Johnson had become something of a legend among the aliens. His burned hands had healed, leaving scars that the aliens looked at with awe. No species they had ever known would willingly suffer pain to help others. Some alien children even asked to touch his scars, believing they brought good luck. In the 6 months since fighting the plague, humans had spread throughout the Galactic Council space. They worked on ships, space stations, and colony worlds. Their ability to survive in harsh conditions made them perfect for jobs that other species found too dangerous. Ambassador Zelnar watched the ceremony from his place at the head of the council. He remembered his first meeting with the humans, how strange and primitive they had seemed. Now he understood that what looked like primitive behavior was actually strength that had been forged on their harsh world. "They are still strange to us," said Trill, who stood beside him. "They laugh at danger. They sleep deeply even when not completely safe. They eat food that would poison most of us. They form emotional attachments quickly." "Yes," agreed Zelnar. "They are strange, but the galaxy needed them more than anyone realized." At the Earth Embassy on the station, Greg Turner and Samantha Diaz were hosting their first diplomatic reception. Aliens from 50 worlds had come